I used to stay late at school because my mom worked evenings. They had this after-school program, nothing special, just a classroom where maybe 10 of us would sit around doing homework until our parents came. One night, I remember being the last student left. It was already dark outside, and the teacher running the program stepped out for a phone call. She told me she'd be right back. I didn't think anything of it. That's when I heard the door open behind me. I assumed it was her, but when I turned around, it wasn't. It was a man I had never seen before. He stood in the doorway like he was confused, just staring at me. He had this lanyard around his neck like staff usually do, but the ID card was flipped backwards. I remember that detail specifically. He smiled and said, "Hey, you're still here?" Something about the way he said it didn't feel normal. Not like a teacher, not even like a parent. I just nodded. He stepped into the room slowly, looking around like he was checking if anyone else was there. Then he asked, "Do you know where the storage room is? I need help carrying something." I told him I didn't know, which was a lie. He stared at me for a few seconds, then laughed quietly. "Come on, it'll just take a second." That's when I noticed his hands shaking. Before I could respond, I heard footsteps in the hallway. The teacher came back, calling my name. The man immediately turned and walked out, fast, like not running, but trying really hard not to run. I told the teacher what happened, and she went to check the halls. They never found him. The next day, the principal came into our class and warned everyone not to stay alone after school anymore. Apparently, someone had tried to enter the building earlier that week, pretending to be staff. And the weirdest part? The security cameras never showed him entering or leaving. This happened during my sophomore year. Our school had this one bathroom on the second floor that was always locked. No one really questioned it. It was just one of those out-of-order things. One day during lunch, my friend told me he found it unlocked. So obviously, we went. Inside, it looked completely normal. Clean, lights on, nothing broken. But there was one stall at the end that was closed. And I mean, locked from the inside. We figured someone was in there, so we just started washing our hands. Then we heard it, a soft knocking. 3 slow taps from inside that stall. My friend laughed and knocked back on the door as a joke. Immediately, the knocking stopped. Dead silence. Then, the door creaked open. Slowly. There was no one inside. I remember feeling this instant wave of panic, like something wasn't right. The stall was empty, but it felt like we weren't alone anymore. Then one of the sinks turned on by itself. Full blast. We both ran out of there. Later that day, we told a teacher about it, expecting her to brush it off, but she didn't. She went completely quiet, then asked us which stall it was. When we told her, she just said, "That bathroom is supposed to stay locked." Apparently, years before we even attended that school, a student had been found unconscious in that exact stall. No one ever really explained what happened. After that day, the bathroom was locked again, and this time, it stayed that way. This happened in middle school, and I still think about it sometimes. We had a substitute teacher for one of our classes. That wasn't unusual, but something about this guy felt off. He didn't introduce himself, didn't take attendance. He just sat at the desk and watched us, like actually watched us. If someone talked, he wouldn't say anything, just stare at them until they stopped. About halfway through class, he asked one of the girls to come up to the front. He said he needed help carrying something from the supply closet. She hesitated, but eventually went with him. They walked out of the room together. 5 minutes passed, then 10. She didn't come back. People started getting nervous, asking where she went. The substitute didn't return either. Finally, someone went to get a teacher from the next classroom. When they checked the hallway, there was no one there. No substitute, no student. The school went into a soft lockdown while they searched. About 20 minutes later, the girl was found near the main office, alone, crying. She told them the substitute had taken her down the hallway, but then suddenly stopped and walked into a stairwell. She said she didn't follow him. She just stood there until she realized she was alone. Here's the part that still bothers me. When the school checked records later, there was no substitute scheduled for our class that day. No one signed in at the front office, and no one on staff recognized the man we described.